And it is in his name, which is his authority, that we pray, praise, proclaim, project, and protect tonight's message. Amen. Shabbat Shalom. My Shabbat Tada. Thank you for being on with us. We appreciate you. Sorry, I got the hiccups tonight. We still appreciate you nonetheless, hiccups or not. Hopefully all is well with everyone. We're going to continue in the book of Malachi. We're in Malachi chapter 3, starting at verse 1. Praise God. We're in Malachi chapter 3, starting at verse 1. What you have to say amen, say God, and say with us and listening. Once again, Malachi, Gaimon, by Aleph. We're going to Malachi chapter 3. We're going to read verses 1 through 7 tonight. I'm going to try to get through. Pray for me, these hiccups. Coming up something serious. Shalom, peace to everybody. Come on in. Oh, excuse me. Malachi, once again, Malachi chapter 3. We're going to start at verse 1. Once you have it, say amen, say God, and say with us, and listen, we're getting ready to do our Bible pledge. Got the hiccups tonight. Pray for us. We're going to make it through. We're going to push through. We're going to power through. Malachi chapter 3 is like part 6, part 7 by now, something like of that nature. Hopefully all is well with everybody. Hopefully you guys can hear and see me okay. Yeah. All right. Tada, thank you for being on once again. We appreciate you. And Shabbat Shalom to everybody. Right now, our Shabbats are, in fact, in tune with the Fridays and the Saturdays. So, Shabbat Shalom to everybody. We appreciate you. We're going to go ahead and get into Malachi. If once you ever say amen, say I got it, say I'm with you. Say I'm listening. We're going to Malachi chapter 3, starting at verse 1. All right, we're going to Malachi chapter 3. We're going to read verses 1 through 7. And Shalom, peace, family. How's it? Excuse me. How's everybody doing? Thank you for being on with us. We appreciate you. We'll say Shalom to everybody real quick. How you doing, Sister Deborah, Sister Deborah, Sister Bet, Elder Anais, Minister Samantha LeRae. My wife is on, Honorable Alma. Thanks for being on, babe. Love you very much. How you doing, Brother Darius? Sister May. And anybody watching on any platforms, we appreciate you so very much. So thank you again for being on. We thank you. We honor your presence. Rock lot. Excuse me, Sister Sherry. Apologize. Hiccups tonight. Crept up on us. Trying to get rid of them. It is what it is. Hopefully we'll make it through. All right, Malachi chapter 3, verses 1 through 7. We'll say our Bible plays together. You can just repeat after me. This is my Bible. This is my sword. And this will I trust. For Yahshua is Lord. No sword of God shall ever be heard. For this is my Bible. And this is Yah's word. Hashem Yechavach. Aman. Shem, his name is authority. Let it be done unto us. Starting at Malachi chapter 3 and verse 1. It reads as follows. It says, behold, Chanai, pay attention. And I, which is Yahweh, I will send my messenger. Pay attention. I will send my messenger, and he shall prepare the way before me. And Yahweh whom ye seek, and Yahweh whom ye seek, right? Or even Adon whom ye seek, shall suddenly come to his temple. Even the messenger of the covenant whom ye delight in. Behold, pay attention, he shall come, saith Jehovah of hosts. Verse 2, but who may abide the day of his coming? Who will live through the day of his coming? And who shall stand when he appeareth? For he is like refiner's fire and fuller's soap. And he shall sit as a refiner and purifier of silver. And he shall purify the sons of Levi, and purge them as gold and silver, that they may offer unto Jehovah an offering in righteousness and right lawful standing. Right? Verse 4, then shall the offerings of Jehovah, of Judah, at Yehudashalom, be pleasant unto Jehovah at Yom of old, in the days of old, and as in former years. Verse 5, and I will come near to you to judgment, and I will be a swift witness against the sorcerers and against the adulterers, and against false swearers, and against those that oppress the hireling in his wages, the widows and the fatherless, and that turn aside the stranger from his right, and fear not me, saith Jehovah of hosts. Verse 6, for I am Jehovah, I change not. Therefore, ye sons of Jacob are not consumed. We'll read verse 7. I'm not sure if verse 7 is for tonight, to be honest. I'm looking at the Holy Spirit speaking, but we'll read verse 7 just in case. Even from the days of your fathers, from the days of Abba, from the days of your sources, right, from the days from your ancestors, ye are gone away from mine ordinances, and have not kept. Return unto me, and I will return unto you, saith Jehovah of hosts. But ye said, wherein shall we come? We've just read Malachi chapter 3, verses 1 through 7. May Yah bless those who read here and especially adhere to his most holy, righteous, and written word. You may be seated to go back to what you're doing in the presence of the Most High Yah. Thank you for being with us today. We very so much appreciate you. Malachi chapter 3, verses 1 through 7. How you doing, Sister Monica or Sister Diana or Donna? How you doing, Sister Shirley? If other Sister Donna's watching us tonight, how you doing? Hello, Shalom, bold servant. How you doing, Sister Tia? I saw the picture on Facebook. At first, it's funny, Sister Tia. At first, I thought that was, well, I don't know. Was that something you was wearing back in the day, or that was something that AI put together? I don't want to speak out of turn, because we all got them pictures where we be looking back. So I was. I'm glad that you can poke AI. Okay, it was AI. It's funny when we can poke fun at ourselves. I'm gonna try. I've shown it before. I'm gonna try and find some of my little nerdy pictures from high school. Every once in a while, I put them up there. Some of my military pictures and all that. Y'all can see. Definitely was a different looking guy. Definitely was a different looking guy, right? But Shalom, peace to everybody. Thank you for being on with us. We appreciate you so very, very, very much. Forgive me, pray for me on these hiccups. They just appeared, but we're gonna push through. I'm on, but we got work to do, and it's not gonna stop me from being on tomorrow. Hiccups we can push through. How you doing, Brother Dwayne? And thank you to the moderators. How you doing, Brother Alton? Thank you to the moderators who were dealing with Mr. Attenborough, who is not one of the same as the namesake. How you doing, Brother Rodney? But anyways, so tonight we just read Malachi chapter 3, verses 1 through 7. This is like part 6, part 7 of the series. We should have started it last night. Forgive me. So we'll be starting when it starts getting into tithes and offering. We'll start that on Monday evening. Those things being said, today when we're talking about this, remember, what is this? Does anybody recall what is the actual name of this scroll? Right, the book of Malachi is actually called what? Anybody recall? Anybody recall what the name of the scroll is? It's not actually known as the book or the scroll of Malachi. It's known as, anybody recall? Well, since we don't have, okay, so it's actually called, according to Malachi chapter 1, verse 1 is where you get this from, by the way. It's actually called the burden of the word of Jehovah to Israel. How you doing, Sister Judy? Once again, this is called what? The burden of the word of Yahweh to Israel. Once again, this is called what? This is called the burden of the word of Yahweh, to who? To Israel. And what we have found in these scrolls is that Yah is trying to deal with a wife, Israel, us. He's trying to deal with a nation, with a country that is not only off track as far as, not having a zeal for Elohim, but are literally at this point questioning whether or not they should even worry about Elohim, right? And they are 100% not giving Yah what is 100% his. They're not giving him tithes. They're not giving him offering. And even when they do give it, it's not something that he wants to even take, right? In the first 2 chapters, this has been made very clear. He's made it a point to tell Israel that he loves us and he hated Esau. He keeps saying he's here for us, he loves us, but we keep questioning him. He says this is what he requires. We say, why would you require that? Or why do we even need, or how are we not giving you what you asked for? There's an argument between Yah and Israel, right? And he's mostly focused on, hey, give me what is necessary for me to continue to give you what you get, because you think that you're supposed to just get stuff, but you're giving me moldy bread for offering, for grain offering, right? He says you're giving me animals that are sick and are lame and have legions and are blind. How you doing, Sister Angela and family, right? He's saying all these different things, and we as a people at this point continuously are saying, it doesn't matter. Why are you worried about that? Yeah, whatever, right? And he keeps saying, no, it does matter, right? ¿Cómo está, mi amigo? Gracias por tu presencia, mi hermano. Gracias y gracias por tu presencia, mi hermana Sherry. Right? Gracias por tu presencia siempre. Excuse me. So he's having this conversation, he's having this situation where he's continuously fighting against the people who keep trying to find ways out. And he said, even at this point, he said that he dealt with the people, the nation. Then he said, I deal with the Levites, right, leadership. He said, I even deal with Judah, the throne. And then he even said, I deal with the husbands, the leaders of the house. He said, all of y'all are out of thought, right? This is basically what the first 2 chapters are, and it's a burden to give because a lot of Israelites can't take that they need to be better or do better, or that they're not answering the bell. They just say, hey, we being the people is enough. We can do what the world does, what Esau does, whatever. We don't have to be Ezekiel 34. I'm sorry, we shouldn't be in Ezekiel 36 and 37 assembly. We should be in Ezekiel 34 and 35 assembly. If you know what that is, great. If not, study that on your own. Ezekiel 34 and 35. 34, Israel is out of pocket, and the leadership is. Ezekiel 35, we're not speaking against Esau and the things of the world. Ezekiel 36, we got to get things back together. Ezekiel 37, dry bones can live. Okay? Quick synopsis. Right? And so here we are. How you doing, Shima? Here we are, Israel. Here we are, family. Here we are, beloved. Where we're continuing, down this journey. And the Most High makes it clear. He says, you guys still aren't doing what you're supposed to do. He says, so this is what I'm going to do since you guys have doubt. You guys aren't thinking that you need to be there. You need a better example. Here we are at what we nowadays call Malachi chapter 3, verse 1. In chapter 3, verse 1, it starts up by saying, Hanaya, behold, pay attention. Everybody, pay attention now. Behold, pay attention. Anai, I, Yahweh, right? Not Kofi. Yahweh says, Anai, he says, I. Yah says, I'm not swearing on you, I swear by myself. He says, I'm going to take care of this. Now watch what he says. He says, behold, I will send my messenger. I will send a messenger. I will send an angel. I will send somebody. Watch this, excuse me. Sorry, I got hiccups. I'm trying my best. Right? I apologize for any burps and any other things that come out of my chest. Okay? Behold, I will send my messenger, and he shall prepare the way before me. What is it? I shall send my messenger. Now, who is he talking about here? We got to look at the timeline, too. Malachi is about to happen right before we're about to get to all the stuff that's about to go down with Maccabees, and then we're going to keep on going through. Eventually we get to Matthew, right? Matthew, Mark, Luke, John, where they're going to be born. Right, that's right. John, not John the Revelator, but John John the Baptist, John the Baptist. He is going to come, and he comes before the Most High to make the way straight. Right. Here we go. John chapter 1, starting at verse 1. In the beginning, right? Balashak, in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with Elohim. The Word was Elohim, the same was Elohim, right? And everything, nothing was made without him. It says, and this Word was the light. So whoever this person come in, who's the Word, is also going to be known as the light. The same person who's one and the same as Yah. It says, and he sent a prophet. How you doing, big brother Charles? Right? How you doing, Sister Michelle? It says he sent a prophet. He sent somebody before him, right, to tell us who the light was and to tell us what to look for. It tells us that this messenger is not the light, but he will show us who the light is. And then later on, verse 14, this Word and this light became flesh and dwelt amongst us. Later on, we'll see in places like Matthew chapter 4 that this light points to Christ, to the Christ, to Yehoshua. Right, he points and he says, behold, this is the Lamb. Behold, this is the one we've been waiting for. This is the Messiah. Right? John the Baptist, who was born greatest amongst all women, according to the Messiah, is there to point towards the light. Here we have him mentioned in Malachi. Now, once again, what is the issue that's going on in Malachi? What is the issue, beloved? What's the issue that we're dealing with in this burden of the word of Yahweh to Israel? What's the issue? What is so hard to get across to Israel is that we are not giving Yah our best, especially in our offerings, especially in our tithes, especially in our time, especially in our marriages. Remember, he went through a whole thing in chapter 2 talking about how you offer up your marriage, and your marriages are off, and you're marrying other persons who don't even believe in the word, and the women of your youth, the wife of your youth, the one who's been with you for a long time, you went ahead and you left her. Everything is what we offer Yah. He says you aren't offering me what's righteous. He said you trying to get off on that whole, hey, I'm Israel by birth, and acting like that in and of itself means that you're giving me what I should get. If you're Israel by birth, whether born again or born and then born again, either way, if you Israel by birth, right, or Israel by marriage, and I'm your husband, he says I'm not getting enough as a husband. He said you guys play around with that divorce thing. He said, but I don't divorce like that. And if you guys continue to not return to me, right, if you keep refusing to return to me, we're gonna have problems. This is what's going on here in Malachi. All right, so Malachi chapter 3. Verse 1, he says, pay attention. Now, all this has been going on. This is what I'm going to do for you. I'm going to send my messenger, and he shall prepare the way before me. Before who? He shall prepare the way before me. But if I'm a king, this is the way it works, right? If a king sends a messenger and says, prepare the way before me, it means I'm going to show up. All right, you follow? Right? You follow? If I send anybody before me, if I say Solomon, right? Let's say Solomon's age 25. I say, Solomon, we're going to be visiting Santa Fe, New Mexico. All right? I need you to go down there and prepare and make the way straight. What I'm telling my son is that I'm sending you on an assignment to make sure that the people are prepared, that the way is prepared, that announcements are made, that all this, so when I arrive, all I've got to do is show up as who I am, and persons are prepared for who I am. You prepare the way, right? And I will solidify, I will let persons know that what you say is the way, because when I come through, I'm the way. Go obviously I'm not the Most High, right? Yehoshua, right? So Yah is saying he's coming. This is like Aleph, this is like Alabai. He says, I'm coming. Right? Who says this, by the way? He says, I'm going to make the way, somebody going to make the way and prepare the way before me. Right? And Yahweh, whom ye seek, shall suddenly come where? He shall suddenly show up where? To his temple. The one you've been looking for. This is the Messiah, by the way. As much as persons keep trying to do this weird thing, persons don't let anybody get away with this, oh, you beloved, okay? Persons have this weird thing that they do where it's like they try to pretend that just because we catching up on some stuff or just because we're finally preaching truth doesn't mean that anybody before us didn't know what was going on. If persons were willing to follow a star, like we were talking about earlier today in the Rising, if persons came all the way from the east, places like China, India, etc., looking for somebody who was going to be the Messiah because they knew all over the place this Messiah was supposed to be. You think that Israel wasn't aware of how important and vital the Messiah was? Right? This is one of the things that they did when they hit you with that whole Ishtar and Nimrod thing. Right? And if you know about Tammuz was supposed to be the fake Messiah. He ended up dying in a boring accident. He got gored. But that's what they were doing. Persons knew the Messiah was coming. That's why when they said son of David, what do they call the Christ? What do they call the Messiah? What do they call Mashiach? They say son of David. They knew who he was. They knew who he was supposed to be, what lineage he was supposed to be. I'm not sure about that with Malachi Z. York. I'd have to look that up. Right? But you see what I'm saying? So these persons were aware. Now, right, just like Christ told the disciples, hey, what you've been looking for is going to show up when I leave. It's going to show up. And then he went ahead and he was translated. They went on the day of Pentecost in Acts chapter 2. And what showed up? Holy Spirit. They've been looking for Holy Spirit. Right? Well, they've been looking for the Messiah. We've been looking for the Messiah. Problem is that we weren't looking for him the way that it was prepared and it was made straight. We were looking for him through this prison where, will a man rob Yah? Can a man rob Yah? Right? That's where everybody was. All right, Raw, if that's your way of saying hello, how you doing? So, when we go to chapter 1, verse 1, we see here, Malachi chapter 3, verse 1, we see here that he says, I'm going to send a messenger. I'm going to send this message. I'm going to send somebody with a message before me. Right? And who you're seeking, what you've been seeking, Jehovah on earth that you've been seeking, he shall suddenly come to his temple. Even the messenger of the covenant, whom you delight in, behold, he shall come, saith Jehovah of hosts. Jehovah of hosts tells you. All right, be careful and safe from the trapper system. You know, Jehovah of hosts says, I'm about to take care of this. He says, I'm about to show up. I'm having somebody go before me, make the way straight. I need to do this. Let's say, saith Jehovah of hosts, according to Malachi 1 and 2. I've got to do this because I've been talking, speaking. I've been giving you the word. I've been blessing you. I've been waiting for the offerings to get better. I've been waiting for the temple to be in order. And you guys still won't do what you're supposed to do. Isn't it interesting that this same type of thought process is a thought process that we can look at when Yehoshua comes into the temple, right? And he starts turning over tables. He starts asking persons, how is it that you've made my father's house turn, how do you have to turn the temple into a den of thieves? Right? Like he's having, Malachi is showing us, right? At the end of the so-called Old Testament, we know there's more. But at the end of the so-called Old Testament, if you're tracking, we're getting to a time where Yah's having enough. And he says, okay, and he tells persons, just like he tells us to be ready in these last days, he tells persons, okay, I'm coming. And I'm making sure that the way is straight. By the way, if this is the case, then we have to look at that Aleph Bid, that Aleph Ba'it, that father-son connection. Right? How long have I been with you? And you're still asking these same questions about who I am. Let's say Yehoshua, right? So he says, I'm sending, right, because of the foolishness, because of what's going on, because you guys need a real wake-up call and you need to see what's happening, right? I'm trying to tell you, I'm coming. And I'm sending a messenger with a particular message. Now watch this, verse 2. When this happens, when the messenger is sent, when the angel is sent, when the prophet is sent, right? When John the Baptist is sent, and when the Messiah himself shows up, when Yah in the flesh shows up. Question. Who will abide? This is verse 2. Who will abide when he comes, in the day of his coming? And who shall stand when he appeareth? See, he's been saying in all the scrolls so far, hey, get it together. Yo, Kofi, let them know. You Levites have been doing well. The Israelites have been doing well. Your husbands aren't doing well. Let them know the royalty of the line of Judah, all the stuff they're talking about, this hasn't been doing well. I keep telling them what they need to do, and they're not getting it together. Well, remind them that I'm coming, right? It was John the Baptist that was sent, but any of us preachers, we're supposed to make sure the persons are aware that the Father's coming, right? Or the Messiah is coming, right? Or in our case, he's coming back, right? The second Adam is coming back a second time. And this time when he comes back, it's not going to be whatever, right? And he already came back this last time. See, for them, when he's coming back to make sure that law is established. We're going to see that in Malachi chapter 4. If you want to skip ahead to the end, you'll see that Moses is mentioned in Malachi chapter 4. If we don't get back to the law of Moses, which is also talked about in Romans chapter 10, verse 5, before you even get to Romans 10, 9 and 10, you have to go Romans 10, 5, we're talking about the law of Moses there as well. But if we don't get back to the law, right, when the Messiah shows up, according to Revelation chapter 20, verse 12, if you haven't followed the law, then your name can't be in the scroll of life, or what we call the book of life. So he says, I'm coming. I'm coming again. He says, I'm going to send a messenger, this for them, John the Baptist. Right? And John the Baptist, and it says, what is it, who can live, who can abide in the day of his coming? Right? And who shall stand when he appeareth? It says this, for he is like refiner's soap, and like fuller's soap. I'm sorry, he is like refiner's fire, and like fuller's soap. The refiner's fire. So when we're refining gold or silver, we go through a process where, I don't do it, but if you are somebody who refines gold or silver, you have to go through a process of heating up the gold and silver and then putting it through a process of making sure that you sift through it to cleanse, anything that is not that particular metal. Right? Your goal is to make sure that if you have gold, it comes out 100% gold. They call it, right, if it's silver, they want it to come out 100% silver. They call it tempting. They call it tempting. In order for you to know if it's pure gold, in order for you to know if it's Yah's will, in order for you to know, then sometimes we have to go through a process that's called tempting, where you're put in extremely hot and difficult situations to where you can't even hold on to your original form. But if you hang in there long enough, you're being tempted because it's a cleansing process. We'll see how well you do when we turn up the fire. Right? You might come out not smelling like smoke at all. And the fourth person might be walking with you and two other compadres, and it might be like the son of a Baham. Right? But we tempt gold or silver to prove its value of being 100%. Right? We don't know how pure it is until we tempt it. Once it's tempted and put together, and it gets a chance to go back to room temperature and gets back to its original intent, it goes back, it hardens again. Right? So you being solid and stuff like that and not wanting to be tempted, that's one of the worst things you can do. And Yah says here, look, to Israel, right? This is the burden of the word of Yahweh to Israel. And he has his servant Malachi writing. And he tells Malachi to pin this. Why? Because Israel, you have gotten to a place to where we're really going to have to put you in the fire. There's a lot of stuff going on in the temple. There's stuff going on in your heart. There's stuff that's going on in what you offer up to me. It's not righteous. So we got to put it in the fire. Right? It also says it shall be like the refiner's soap. I'm sorry, not the refiner's soap, but the fuller's soap. If you don't know about the fuller is basically it's not an ancient term, so to speak, but it's at the time when this was written, 1611 King James, they used the term fuller. But there was a position very similar to it that existed in ancient Israel, where you basically had a person who would go around and they would get all your laundry, they would get the wool that was sheared off the sheep, they would get all these different things and they would put them together and they would cleanse them. They were very great at cleaning. They had a lot of different techniques. Sometimes they might even put the stuff in water and roll it across, what you guys know about the rolling. I don't even remember the water. I don't even know what you call the board. What is it? washboard, washboard and stuff like that. Or you have, I know about this, I used to do this in the tub, you know, where you agitate, you that agitator, they might get out there once they know that they're clean and don't clean stuff and cleanse their feet enough. They might even go and try to stomp out certain materials. They might do something similar like what we used to do in the military, where we might take quarters and stuff and try to go against the grain, you know, maybe put a little woolite on some of our uniforms, depending on what kind of uniform it was. But it was an attempt. There was a person that went and they were paid, and they went around and they would pick up your clothing and they would take it outside, and these persons smelled, right? The clothing would smell. You would not want to be around this stuff. It was real. It was like, whoo, that was some extreme funk, right? But the mission was to cleanse it. So you took all the stuff and you would clean it, and you would take it outside the city usually, right? And then you would bring it back in when it wasn't smelling so bad. And that was their pick up laundry. That was their laundry service back then. That was their dry cleaners of the day, right? That's how they did that. So when it says, who's going to be able to live when the Messiah shows up after John the Baptist has made the way straight, or has prepared the way for us to see who he is, it says that in order for you to be able to stand, right, in the final days, right, when he appears, and in order for you to live when he comes, it says you must be tempted like gold or silver in the fire. And it says you must be cleansed, clean meaning lawful. So you must be cleansed as if the fuller is coming with the fuller soap. And the fuller soap is different than regular soap, right? We know this. If you're using soap to clean your body, you're not using the same soap you're using in clothes. You could, right? But you have certain types of soap. So the fuller soap is a different type of clean. Right, and thank y'all for the love. So the process of cleaning is this is a different level of cleansing. Verse 3, and he shall sit as a refiner. Who is he? Who is he? The one who's coming, Yahweh of hosts. Right? The one who's making the way straight is getting everything ready, because when Yahweh of hosts shows up in the flesh, we call him Yahashua. When he shows up in the flesh, you better be ready, Israel. You've been talking all this stuff, how you don't need to do this, how you don't have to give, how your offering can be moldy, how your offering can be, no, okay. He says, all right, he's coming, and he's going to sit as a refiner, right, and purifier of silver. He's going to sit as if he's the one he's going to be the one who's going to see when you're being tempted, is there anything he needs to cleanse out? Or are you, in fact, the gold or silver you claim to be? If not, if you're fool's gold, you don't need to be kept around. How you doing, Ezekiel? Thanks for being part of the community. Right? You see this? So here we go, verse 3. And he shall sit as a refiner and purifier of silver, and he shall purify the sons of Levi. Remember, they started off talking about all of Israel, then he focused in for a minute in chapter 1 and chapter 2 on the Levites, on the leaders. Here he goes back to it. He says, the first thing I got to purify are you Levites. First thing I got to purify is this message. First thing I got to purify is this so-called doctrine that doesn't have my instruction attached to it. First things first, right? Remember, he said, it was in chapter 2, that Judah has dealt treacherously. And Judah has gotten to a place where they started to marry outside of the kingdom of Elohim, right? And he said, because you guys do this, right, he says, you're going to be cut off. He said, you're more concerned about being in tune with the world than you are about being with me, and you keep trying to make excuses, acting like somehow, some way I'm supposed to be stupid, and you can offer me trash while offering up heathens the best that you had. That's right, the leaders are the teachers. The leaders are the pastors. The leaders are the preachers. The leaders are the apostles. The leaders are the masters. The leaders are the malach. The leaders are the kohelets, right? The leaders are the so-called bishops and so-called popes and all this stuff, right? He said, I got to first come to y'all. He said, I'm about to cleanse you. Remember, he said, leaders, you need this more than anybody else, because if you recall, I think it's chapter 2, I could be wrong, but I believe it's in chapter 2, where he said, you guys think that your blessings are whatever. He said, your blessings are cursed. He said to the Levites, he said, what you guys receive, since you guys want to give me moldy bread, since you want to give me animals that are blind, since you want to give me animals that are deaf, since you want to give me animals that are diseased and sickly, he said, how about this? Anything I blessed you with, or anything you consider to be a blessing, not only will it be cursed, he said, I've already cursed it. So first things that got to happen if this is going to get together, right, is that the Levites got to get together. If you notice, when Yehoshaphat came, who did he deal with more than anybody else? Right? Who did he have to? He taught everybody, but who did he have to straighten out more than anybody else? Who did he have to go in public and say, who did he question and send such questions that it sent them into disarray and a tizzy because they weren't ready for a little child to question them and show that they really weren't on point? He questioned Israel, but specifically questioned the Levites. He had to get on them. He had to get on us. All right. So verse 3, and he shall sit as a refiner and purifier of silver, and he shall purify the sons of Levi and purge them with gold, as gold and silver, that they may offer unto Jehovah an offering in righteousness. Here we go again. What is the point of this? The burden of the word of Jehovah to Israel. What is the purpose? What is the point of this whole scroll that we're reading? We should always know the point of it, right? We should always know there's a theme to this. What is the motif that continues to show itself over and over and over again? Is that we are not giving to Yah what he deserves, and every time he says you're not giving to him what he deserves, we keep making excuses. He said, first thing first, I'm coming to the Levites and I'm purifying them, because if I purify them and they're supposed to set the example, they will set a better example that once they're cleansed and in right lawful standing, that's what righteousness is, once they get back to the law, they will be able to offer unto Jehovah an offering. What? An offering what? An offering in righteousness. An offering what? In righteousness. Right? It's not just enough to have an offering. An offering in righteousness. Once again, his problem has been mainly, hey, you guys keep giving me stuff that's not, that you would, remember, he even says, you wouldn't give to me, you wouldn't give to governors what you give to me. You wouldn't give to the publicans who you say you hate what you give to me. You wouldn't give to your enemies, it feels like, what you give to me, but you'll give it to me trying to act like I'm supposed to be okay. You're double-minded and unstable in all your ways. So I got to deal with the leadership so that they would give an offering in righteousness. Verse 4, then shall the offerings of Judah and Jerusalem be pleasant unto Jehovah. Remember, he talked about Judah and Jerusalem. Remember, he made a point. He talked about northern kingdom, but he also talked about Judah, the kings, and where the king's supposed to be in Jerusalem. He said, I have a problem with you guys too. Remember, he talked about Judah specifically. He says, if I can get the Levites in order, he says, then your leadership will get in order. Which means that the Levites technically are the leadership, no matter what. Right? That's why David has to listen to Nathan. That's why David has to listen to Samuel. That's why Saul is chasing Samuel down. Right? This is why we remember Elijah, even if some of you don't remember who Elijah was prophet with as far as being king. Because the prophets and the priests, they're supposed to lead. So if the priests get it, he said the leadership gets it. Right? If the priests get it, then the elders will get it. If the priests get it, then who else did he talk about? Then the husbands will get it. The fathers will get it. If the husbands and fathers get it, right, then it means that the wives and the mothers will get it. Right? But the priests have gone so wild, and they've allowed the assembly, I hate to say it because it's a racist term, but the so-called peanut gallery, if you didn't know the peanut gallery, it was black and brown folk that used to sit up high. Now, so-called white persons get to pay for that, and they say, okay, now, but that used to be called the peanut gallery because that's where you say. Right? But the reality is that all of us who are sitting around, all these persons sitting around, like, you need to look, we need to figure out, okay, leadership, Levites, you say you're in it, okay, look, you got to be on point. And even if somebody's giving you pieces of whatever, you have to be the ones to say, wait a minute, you're just giving Yah bits and pieces. Where is what Yah's worthy of? Right? You saying, Yah, I need you to direct me, but when I look at your life and I listen to what you're saying, I can't say that you're giving him your first hours of everything. I can't say that you're giving him, so you think it's just like little greenbacks. I can't say that you're, when I listen to some of these stories, that you're making sure that your wife is being trained in the way, looking at your example. I can't say that if your spouse is a non-believer, that you're making sure that your behavior is that of a believer, so that the believer's behavior would cause the non-believer to actually see that coming over to Yah is something that they should look at. Right? So when we're offering these are all things we offer up. You are a living sacrifice. Which is your reasonable service, to be holy and acceptable unto him, to not be conformed to the ways of the world, but be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind, right, which comes through you going through a spiritual transformation that goes from you becoming a new creature, that comes from you being born again, going through gestational period, being on the sincere milk, and making sure that once you get the sincere milk, when it's time to toddle, when it's time to start eating some stuff, when it's time to start chewing up some steak, now we can have a conversation. Right? But you got to give. Whatever you give, it shall be given unto thee. And Yah says, you giving me moldy bread, so I'll curse your blessing too. You giving me pieces of stuff and then getting upset when I'm no longer giving you filet mignon. Right? You remember mom and them back in the day? Now McDonald's money is crazy. But you remember back in the day, you used to ask mama for McDonald's, and mama or daddy would say, you got McDonald's money? Everybody, that used to be a thing. If you was the 70s, 80s, 90s, baby, you had to have McDonald's money. Y'all remember that? Right? But when we were coming, you got to have McDonald's money, right? But nowadays, people want straight up $250 steaks, and they don't even have McDonald's money. They're giving Yah kind of sort of love. I'm busy with this, I'm busy with it. I got children, I got a job, I got a couple jobs, I'm trying to do this, I'm thinking about this, blah, blah. And then when persons get more, they start giving him even less. When if it wasn't for him, how would you even, you say that it was him that gave you more, but when you get more, you give him less. Right? So, here it is, verse 4. He says, then, after the Levites get this together, shall the offerings of Judah and Jerusalem be pleasant unto Yahweh, as in the days of old. He said, you guys know what this is. Go back to the days of old. Go back to the law. Do what you're supposed to do. And in the former years, y'all used to do this. You know what's up. Right? You know what's going on with this. All right, verse 5. And I will come near to you. This is what he says. Watch this. If you do what you're supposed to do, watch this. And I will come near to you to judgment. And I will be a swift witness against the sorcerer. See, he says, when I come, watch this. When Yehoshua shows up, when Yahweh says he shows up after the one who's coming before him makes the way straight, this is what he says. He says, and I will come near to you to judgment. I will be a swift witness against the sorcerers. I will be what? A quick witness. A live witness, right? Swift is quick. It don't mean fast, it means quick. Anybody know about basketball? Sometimes the quick brother is harder, or the sister, but the quick person you're playing basketball against is usually going to be tougher to deal with than the faster one. The one that's fast, yeah, they can do this, but if you're quick and fast, then it's crazy. But if you're quick, right? Like Kobe's not actually the fastest. Kobe couldn't actually jump the height, but he had a quick first step. So if you get that step on you, it's over. Right? He says, I'm coming with a quickness. A quick witness against the sorcerers. He says, when I show up, I need you to see the category. See, watch this. This is the category of person who wouldn't care about giving an offering to Yah anyways. And you might be following, and you might be thinking it's okay to listen to. I need you to see this is the category of person that I put in there that I'm having an issue with, that I'm going to have to curse their blessings and stuff. If I'm going to have these Levites get in position, and I'm going to have your leadership get in position, then I need you to realize that while I'm getting them in position, anybody who is one of these things, they got to go. Watch this. Watch this. Who's got to go? Who will he be a swift witness against? Against the sorcerers. And if you look up the word they're using here for sorcerer, they're basically saying those who are witches. Into witchcraft, into control, right, into manipulation. The sorcerers, he said, and against the adulterers, right, and against the false swearers, against the persons who swear, but really what they saying ain't true, they lying, and against all those that oppress the hireling in his wages. Wait a minute, so I'm coming against those two, to where if you got persons that are underneath you and you don't make sure that they get paid, I got a problem with you. I'm also those. Watch this. Those who oppress not just the fatherless. The hireling, right? Those are the ones who are supposed to have jobs, right? The workman is worth his hire. Also can be considered to be the hireling is not a Levite, but it also kind of insinuates, right, leadership in that. He's coming against those, but also the widows and the fatherless. And those that turn aside the stranger from his right and fear not Yahweh. Thus saith Yahweh of hosts. He says, if you don't take, now if you notice, if you haven't noticed this, these are the persons, right, outside of the hireling, you would switch the hireling, you would switch out the hireling for the Levite. But in essence, he just named the persons who the tithe goes towards. So now he's going to a place, watch this, because the tithes are for the Levites, for the widows, for the orphan, for the poor, and to the stranger. So what he's saying here, we're not going to get in here tonight. Next, on Monday, we're going to get into, will a man rob Yah? Yes, you have, in tithes and offering. We'll talk about that. But he's setting it up. Once again, this whole thing has been about you not giving, you're not honoring. And now he says, look, when you dishonor me, you don't comprehend that you really dishonor yourselves and you dishonor the family. Why? Because what is the tithe? Bring ye the tithes. Right, we're not going to go over tonight, but I'm just showing you where we're headed. Bring ye the tithes where? Into the storehouse. That's a storage facility for the family. Into the storehouse, that what? That there might be meat or grain or offering or food or substance for mine house, for my family. So if you're not giving to me, you're not giving to you. If you as the Levites are only giving the little pitiful pieces and keeping everything for yourself, then you're destroying the family. Right? If you're not giving your best to Yah and giving your best to Israel, then you're destroying the family. You're helping to hurt us. I know somebody don't want to hear that. And I get why somebody doesn't want to hear that, from a pastor even, right? Especially somebody who's supposed to be a follower of the way, because all these pastors be messing up I get it. I'm not, but I get it. And at the end of the day, all I can do is stick around and y'all see what I do, see my service, see what I'm saying, see if I live up to it. If I don't, you call me out on it. You have every reason to try the spirit to see if it's above a hum. Right? I get that there's a lot of cats. I'm not going to pretend that everybody batting 1,000 when you giving them funds. Right? I'm not even going to pretend that I always am. Because I'm human. Right? I ain't never stole, but that being said, I won't even put a but. I never stole. Right? Even with that though, there's times when I probably did forget to do this or pay 20 here or 30 here, or I put, there's a lot of moving parts worldwide that we do, right, that we participate in. A lot of things, a lot of bills, a lot of this, a lot of that, as much as we can, right, such as we have and give unto thee, right? But what I'm saying and all that is that the goal is to make sure there's storage. I've said this plenty of times. If you had five, like the last time we talked about it, I said, imagine, this is crazy, crucial work, but imagine if it was just 50 families. 500 is, if we had 500 families doing this, it's game over. But imagine if we got to 50 families saying that we're going to, no matter what, be obedient to giving Yah what's his first. Not only with your dollars, all those part of your offer, right? But also in our time, talent, effort, energy, etc. In our businesses, everything that we do is going to be about Yah, be about Yah's family. Imagine 50 families, right, that are going to be 100% in tune with that. Right, just as in the days of Noah, right? Or hey, the work, what is it? The work is vast, the work is a lot, but the laborers are few. Pray to the Lord of the harvest, therefore, for laborers. The harvest is great, but the laborers are few. Right? Give, and it shall be given unto thee. Give. How much of this word do you give to others around you? Matthew chapter 24. Verses 13 and 14 say that those of us who endure and keep preaching the word, that speeds up the Messiah coming back. Nobody knows the date of the hour, but we're told what we should be doing as far as putting light in our, right? Putting light in our oil. I'm sorry, putting oil in our lamp. Excuse me. So that when the light comes back, it can ignite. When he shows back up. Right? With that fire, that person coming with that refiner's fire and that fuller's soap when he shows up. So verse 5, so those of us who are not giving, he said, when I come looking for you, he said, the persons that I'm talking about that are witness against, right? He said, when I come near to you, see, watch this, when I come near to you, when I get closer to you, when the time is coming closer, I already said I'm coming. And so when the person comes to make the way straight and starts preaching to you all, I need you guys to recognize and realize this is what you look for. Judgment is coming, right? The Sermon on the Mount was great, but judgment is coming. The Roman road is amazing. Judgment is coming. Knowing that you can rejoice in Revelation is amazing. Judgment is coming. He said, don't get it twisted. Judgment is coming. And how you judge is how you'll be judged. How you condemn is how you be condemned. How you forgive is how you be forgiven. That's why it says the next verse, give, and it shall be given unto thee. Elohim's measure, pressed down, shaken together, and running over. If you've given your best, then he will give you his best. If you've given moldy bread, then he says your offerings are cursed. It's the truth. It's the word. He says, so I'm coming, I'm looking for this, for those there's going to be a judgment. Swift witness, right? My word, because his word, he says, I swear by myself. He's swearing by his own word. He says, I've told you. He said, I'm having this burden be written out to you right now. I'm going to show up, and I'm going to have John the Baptist show up before me to make sure that y'all are aware what's going on. You can separate, because the world has influenced the kingdom of Israel to the point to where now y'all don't even see John as the Levite that he is, but he's the greatest amongst you. So in verse 5 he says, I'm bringing swift witness against sorcerers. Sorcerers around here, and you giving your stuff to them, right? Somebody to read your fortune and do all that, tarot cards, all these different things. You watch all that. He says, and I'm coming against adulterers. You guys are going out with persons that cheat on you, left and right. But hey, they pay my bills. This is just as in the days, right? We repeating the same foolishness. He says, and against false swearers, right? False swearers. These persons are lying, and you know they're lying, but they make you feel great in the lie, so you keep giving them stuff. He said, and against those that oppress the hireling in his wages. But don't just stop there. If you oppress also too the widows and the fatherless, and you turn aside from the stranger instead of helping them out, right? You cannot fear or respect Yahweh. Thus saith Yahweh of hosts. Verse 6, for I am Yahweh, and I Yahweh, I change not. Therefore ye sons of Jacob are not consumed. This right here is crucial, right? Because what he says is, you guys change it up every day. Y'all ain't serious about this. Y'all ain't trying to have a relationship with me like you said. He said, y'all change it up too much. He said, however, with me, he said, y'all better be thankful I don't change. Right? He said, y'all should be thankful. Y'all should be high-fiving. How you doing, Sister Pearl? Y'all should be thankful and high-fiving and running around and all this stuff. Because he said, if I changed up like y'all changed up, there wouldn't even be no covenant for you to come back to. He said, if I changed up like y'all changed up, y'all wouldn't even have any. What would be your point? What would be your purpose? What would be the whole thing of y'all talking about Israel this, Israel that? Y'all don't even. He said, I am trying to get you to come back to covenant. You guys keep trying to tell me how it is that there's no covenant that you're breaking. Last verse for today, verse 7. Even from the days of your fathers. From the days of your fathers, from the days of the sources that you come from the days of our fathers, and what they actually did, and what they actually read, and what they actually meant, and how they actually prayed, and how they actually acted, right? Watch this. Even from the days of your fathers, ye are gone away from mine ordinances. That's law, by the way, because if you're ordained to do something, it has to be by a government. So you've gone away from my ordinances, and have not kept. Return unto me, and I will return unto you, saith Yahweh of hosts. But ye said, wherein shall we return? And we'll start with that on Monday. Because once again, there's another question. Have you seen the formula? It's formulaic at this point. Yah's going to say he loves us and hates Esau. What are we going to say? How do you love us? He's going to say, you keep giving me stuff that is not righteous for offering. You said, how? That's not true. How did that happen? He says, you're giving stuff, and even the Levites don't want most of it. They're giving me the crud. You say, no, show us. It's a continuous thing over and over again. He keeps telling us, you're being disobedient. You're not being righteous. And we keep trying to find ways to get around it. And he tells us that the Messiah is coming. In essence, that's what he says here. The Messiah is coming, and there's going to be one who's going to make the way straight. And a lot of us miss the Messiah coming because everything he told us here in Malachi, we just acted like it was nothing. If he's the word, he's the law. If he's Ba'et, then he's Aleph. Alav. He's Aleph Ba'et, Aleph Bit. Right? He was all these things, and we missed him because we were so busy trying to say, no, there's no way we could be messed up. No. Yah, I know he Yah and everything, but he got the wrong one this time. Right? That's how we're talking the whole time. So when we start, we're going to start here at verse 7 on Monday. And we're going to hit, will a man rob Yah? Yes, you have, in tithes and offering. And if you've been reading this with us now, if you haven't, go back and watch the recordings. But if you've been with us now for this series, you'll discover very quickly, yes, this is very clear what Yah is talking about and how we should be giving him our best as a people, how we should be giving him our best as Levites, how we should be giving him our best as leadership, as royalty, how we should be giving our best in praise, because Judah also represents praise, right? Yehovah represents praise, or Yahweh be praised, right? We should realize that we should be giving him our best in marriages. These are all things that are outlined. And when we don't give our best and we don't make sure the community's taken care of, we're not just slapping, we're not just taking the best for ourselves, we're slapping the whole community. So, prayerfully that made sense to you. We're going to start at verse 7, Malachi chapter 3, verse 7. We'll start there on Monday evening. Tadamai Shabbat. Prayerfully we will see you all tomorrow. Shabbat Shalom. Whether you're going by either calendar, it's the same. Shabbat Shalom to you all. Tomorrow will be our normal Saturday with all the stuff up in there. Prayerfully you'll be able to join us. We'll be finished up with our watch party. And then we did have a suggestion, so I'm going to try and peek that. If persons have suggestions for watch parties for down the road, we'll try to look at those too. But thank you all for being on. Feast of Tabernacles quickly approaching. Before that, not tomorrow, but next Saturday on the 13th. Everybody, we're going to be doing 4 hours of power. It'll be virtual, but also too, those who are coming in person, it'll be in Baltimore area. I'm getting a particular place together now. We will then, September 22nd, we plan on being down in Houston. So those in Texas, we've been telling y'all for a while now, and we came down there last time, and we're telling you again, so get yourselves in order, get yourselves together. Those in Houston, those of you close to Houston are close enough to come just for a day. I know Houston, Dallas, Fort Worth, and Grand Prairie, and I think those are the main spots that we have persons in. I know those are far, but we're looking at Houston. So we're coming to Houston, please ma'am, please sir. Please be ready to come and say shalom and hang out some. We'll probably be there the 21st through the 23rd, but the 22nd is the actual Feast of Trumpets. If you'd like to join us, we'll be back in Georgia by October the 1st, in like the Marietta area. If you'd like to join us for the Day of Atonement. And then we shall be Feast of Tabernacles October 6th through the 13th. So we're looking forward to seeing everybody in all those different places. Thank you so much for hanging in there and being part of what we're doing. Thank you for being righteous to Sadaik at Yehovah, being righteous children of Yehovah to Sadaik, Ban to Sadaik at Yehovah. And we love y'all so much. We thank you again. We appreciate you. We honor you. Hopefully all is well. We'll be making up for some of the Patreon stuff and SOC University stuff. I just wasn't feeling well this week, but that stuff will be back up for you guys very soon. And tomorrow, I think, is our marriage Saturday in the evening. So if you'd like to join us for the evening, that should be on a couple different platforms online. And then if all goes well, hopefully we'll have a Zoom session following that up on Sunday evening as well. So love y'all. Take care. Kind of hold on to all those things we've been announcing. You'll see all the different posters and stuff popping up soon as well. But we thank you, we appreciate you, we honor your presence today, and we hope all is well with you. Thank you again. Keep me in prayer with this voice. Everything should be fine for tomorrow, though. I'm feeling pretty decent. And we will see you guys tomorrow. And as always, remember that Yah loves us. Remember that He comes first. We give our honor and praise to Him. We give our honor and praise to Him for my wife. And remember, family, that you are loved, you're necessary, you're majestic, you're fearfully, wonderfully made, and you, which is all of us working together, will be the reason why people who are in this system no longer have to be of it. All right, shalom, family. Take care. Shabbat shalom. Peace and blessings. Barakat shalom. And Laila Tav. We'll see you tomorrow.